Hey guys, Desasante here from Music School in Bowmanville with another little quick tip for you. If you have been following along, the last episode we talked about the reason why we learn and practice scales. If you missed that one, definitely head over to Music'sCool.club and check it out. It's in the blog section of the website where we keep all these videos so that you can peruse at your leisure. But today I want to take it a step further. Let's assume you've learned a scale or two. Let's assume you've practiced them up and down to develop a little bit of muscle memory, as we spoke about in the last video. What do you do to go from there to being able to actually make music, to be able to improvise using the language of music and get quite creative with these scales? And that's kind of what I want to hit on today. So the first thing, as I mentioned, step one, learn a scale pattern on the instrument. So one of the ones that I like is a scale called the minor scale. And one way to play it on the guitar is if you were to put your hand I'm gonna play in fifth position, meaning my first finger is at the first fret. That note happens to be an A, so this would be an A minor scale. And it would go like this. And a hand position, by the way, just to reiterate, is when you've decided where you're going to plant your first finger, now you have 4 frets because you have 4 fingers. That establishes your position. So when you hear me talking about finger 1, finger 3, finger 2, etc., that also corresponds to the fret that's underneath that finger. So in this particular case, the scale is as follows. When we start on the low string, the E string here, we're going to play finger 1, 3, 4. Next string, 1, 3, 4. Next string, 1, 3. In this particular case, you move back a fret for this third string here. This is the G string. And I'm playing 1, 2, 4 in that position. And then I move back into my regular position again. I play 1, 2, 4. And then my last string, 1, 3, 4. So I'll play the whole thing for you so you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, and again, because we started on the note A, that happens to be an A minor scale, okay? So once you've got the scale down and you've practiced it like we spoke about last day, and you've got some dexterity and some kinesthetic or muscle memory developed, what we need to start doing now is figuring out how to use those notes to make actual music and how to actually improvise, which is basically being able to play music that you've never played or heard before. It's off the top of your head, just like I'm improvising by speaking to you right now. I'm just riffing, I guess you could say, right? We want to be able to do the same sort of thing with our scales in a melodic sense. Melody is when we're playing one note at a time, as opposed to harmony. That's the A minor chord. This is the A minor scale, okay? So a good way to approach beginning to develop your sort of musical vocabulary is to simply start off by playing the scale in order, up and down, as you would normally practice it, but start playing around with the rhythm. That's sort of one step. So what I might do is hold some notes longer, move by some notes a little quicker, but for the time being, still staying in order. So I'm beginning to not only continue my practice of the scale pattern, but I'm also starting to then begin to improvise rhythmically. An example of that might be something like this. For an example. So I'm still playing the scale in order, up and down, just like we would practice it, but now I'm starting to improvise with my rhythms, okay? So that's one thing I like to practice in the beginning, or I like to encourage people to practice in the beginning, because that's sort of the easiest form of improvisation. You're just improvising with the rhythm. Now, the second step, if you want to take that a notch further, is let's straighten up the rhythm again. We're going to straighten up the rhythm, just play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, etc. But we're going to change the order of the notes. So now I'm going to stick with the notes that are in the scale, but I'm going to play them in any order. I might skip a couple up, I might skip a couple going down, etc., but I'm going to keep the rhythm steady in this case. So we're not blending the two yet. That's the third step, which we'll get to in a second. So I might do something like this. like so. So now I'm improvising with the order of the notes, the actual melody that I'm creating, but I'm keeping the rhythm very consistent. And in fact, if you were to do that kind of exercise to a metronome where you can sort of evaluate how fast you're getting and slowly bump it up, it's a great exercise to train the mind to think fast enough and to be able to improvise. Again, we're making it up here. It's not like we've learned a very particular sequence of notes. We're improvising here, but to be able to improvise at faster tempos. And this is an exercise I still practice to this day. So if I sped the tempo up, you might get something like this. That kind of thing, right? So stable rhythm, da, 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 but I'm training my mind to think fast enough to choose my notes quickly. That's the idea. And then, of course, as you may have guessed, the third phase is to improvise with the order of the notes and the rhythms. So you might get something like this. That kind of thing. And now I'm actually making melodies, I'm making music, I'm improvising it out of off the top of my head. It's not something I've played before necessarily, and it sounds musical because, like we talked about in the last lesson, I'm using the roadmap of the scale to inform me as to what notes are going to work together and what notes I should leave out altogether. And you'll hear it. If I play a note that's not in the scale, for example, let's say on this top string here, the notes are fingers 1, 3, and 4. So the 2 is an off note, right? It would be referred to as an accidental, even if I hit it on purpose. That's just the musical term for a note that's outside the key, right? So there's one, and on this string it's 1, 3, 4 as well. So that finger 2 note is an accidental as well. And then on this string it's 1 and 3. So the 2 and the 4 are both accidentals. So let's have a listen. I'll improvise a little, and I'll slip in one of these accidentals, and you'll probably hear it quite readily. Did you hear it? That note sounds a little weird, a little jazzy, as it were. That's an old musician's joke. If you play the wrong note, just call it jazz and move on. All right, so you get the idea. The scale serves as the roadmap. The practice of the scale up and down develops the muscle memory in the hands and the picking as well. And then these steps that we spoke about today will develop your ability to actually use those musical words, those notes, to create musical sentences, phrases, melodies, okay? So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something from it. Once again, if you missed any of the previous sessions, head on over to Music'sCool.club. The link will be in the description. And if you'd like to really bump up your skills a notch this year, definitely register for a free lesson at Music'sCool.club. Come and see me here in Bowmanville, and we will get you where you need to get to. Until next time, keep jamming. We'll see you soon.